The draft order is starting to take shape, and with 1 week left in the NFL regular season, we'll be one step closer to draft season, those 4 months from January to April when general managers, scouts and coaches will decide the direction of their franchises. For whomever ends up with the first pick, it's some easy math. Take Nick Bosa. For teams in need of a quarterback like the Giants, Jaguars, or Dolphins, things become slightly more complicated. We'll sort it all out in our latest mock draft. Alright, let's get to all the picks. If you're wondering, the picks below are ordered based on winning percentage, playoff seedings and strength of schedule via Tankathon. Point 1. Arizona Cardinals. Nick Bosa to Ohio State. On a team chock full of holes, edge rusher isn't at the top of the to-do list. That said, it's hard to pass on a talent like Bosa, who can take over games. There isn't an offensive lineman worth taking this high, and the Cardinals can address that position later in the draft or through free agency. 2. Oakland Raiders. Devin White, LB, LSU. The Raiders desperately need a pass rusher. Apparently this is what happens when you trade Khalil Mack, but they just miss out on Bosa. With plenty of other needs, John Gruden gets one of the most dynamic players in the draft. White is a sideline-to-sideline terror who immediately upgrades a suspect linebacker core. Point 3. San Francisco. Greedy Williams, CB, LSU. Despite taking defensive linemen in the first round of 3 of the last 4 drafts, San Francisco still has needs at pass rusher. But there's also a huge void in the secondary. Williams may not be the most polished cornerback in this draft class, but he is insanely athletic and has all the tools to become a great player. 4. New York Jets. Jonah Williams, OT, Alabama. This isn't an exciting pick, and there have been some conversations about Williams moving inside to guard at the next level. But he's had a dominant season at Alabama and he would anchor the tackle position in New York for the next decade, protecting 2017 third overall pick Sam Darnold. 5. Detroit Lions. Quinnen Williams, DL, Alabama. The Lions are a worse team now under Matt Patricia than they were under Jim Caldwell, who was run out of town for not getting the most out of his team. But perhaps that narrative changes with the addition of Williams, who has been one of the best players in college football in 2018, after sitting behind Darren Payne, a Redskins first-rounder last spring, in 2017. Like many of the teams in front of them, the Lions need pass rushing help, but Williams could be a truly special player in the middle of this defense. 6. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Deon Thompson, S, Alabama. The Bucs are a mess on both sides of the ball, but their defense has been particularly lacking this season. Deon Thompson is the best safety in the class and he can be a game changer in center field. On a unit lacking playmakers in the secondary, Thompson may be worth a gamble this early in the draft. 7. Buffalo Bills. DK Metcalf, WR, Ole Miss. There are questions about Metcalf's consistency. He comes from an Ole Miss offense that doesn't ask him to do much, and he's also coming off a neck injury that cut short his junior season. But Metcalf is also the best wideout in this draft who wins at the of scrimmage, makes contested catches look easy, and can beat defensive backs deep. This is exactly what Josh Allen and the Bills need in a post-Kelvin Benjamin world. 8. New York Giants. Byron Murphy, CB, Washington. The Giants aren't drafting a quarterback because Eli Manning has played himself into the starting job in 2019. We should all get used to that. The team will need to fix the offensive line, but if Jonah Williams isn't available here, they could also focus on the secondary, which has been problematic this season. Murphy has had a wonderful year in Washington and he might currently be the best cornerback in the draft. 9. Jacksonville Jaguars. Dwayne Haskins, QB, Ohio State. Same as last week, when Cody Kessler and Blake Bortles combined to go 17 for 23 for 145 yards. Well, something has to change. Jags executive Tom Coughlin historically likes college quarterbacks with more experience, but the current circumstances in Jacksonville may dictate that he deviate from that plan. Haskins has had a monster season at Ohio State. For much of the season it sounded like the redshirt sophomore was set to return to school. But Haskins, who reportedly got a first-round grade from the advisory board, might have the most upside of any quarterback in this class. Put another way, the Jags need a post-Bortles plan and Haskins could be the best option. 10. Atlanta Falcons. Jachai Polite, Edge, Florida. Former first-round rushers Takk McKinley and Vic Beasley have combined for 11. 5 sacks, but the Falcons could choose to move on from Beasley after this season. Polite, who had a breakout season at Florida, has an explosive first step and off-the-chart physical abilities. His knack for getting in the backfield was unrivaled at times this fall. 11. Carolina Panthers. Yadni Kajist, OT, West Virginia. Cam Newton's season is over after weekly beatings left him with a shoulder injury that just couldn't get right. The Panthers' offensive line has been abysmal this season, and, yes, maybe taking Kajist this high is a stretch, but Carolina has to protect their franchise quarterback, full stop. 12. Cincinnati Bengals. E.D. Oliver, DT, Houston. This defense has been an abomination, and while linebacker is a bigger need, it's hard to pass on Oliver here. Considered the second-best player in the draft several months ago, Oliver could still be a top 10 pick. Geno Atkins is still playing at a high level, but he's also 30 years old. Adding Oliver to the mix would give the defensive line some much-needed athleticism. 13. Denver Broncos. Kelvin Harmon, WR North Carolina State. The team traded Demaryius Thomas earlier this season, and Emmanuel Sanders, who is on injured reserve, has just 1 year left on his contract. Courtland Sutton is now the go-to receiver, and Harmon would add a much-needed deep threat to this offense. He put up eye-popping numbers during his junior season at NC State, and he'd give Case Keenum another downfield target. 14. Green Bay Packers. Josh Allen, Edge, Kentucky. Kyler Fackrell has 9.5 sacks this season, after managing just 5 in his first 2 seasons. But with Clay Matthews in the final year of his contract and a need for pass rushers after Fackrell, Allen, who had a breakout season at Kentucky, would be a perfect fit. 15. Miami Dolphins. Jeffrey Simmons, DT, Mississippi State. The Dolphins need a quarterback in the worst way, but Justin Herbert, should he come out, wouldn't be ready to start in Week 1. Instead, Miami bolsters its defensive line. We've spent months talking up Quinnen Williams and Ed Oliver, but Simmons has been a disruptive interior force this season. He has just 1 sack, but he spends games in the backfield, as evidenced by his 15. 5 tackles for loss. The Dolphins need depth along the defensive line, and Simmons makes a lot of sense here. 16. Washington Redskins. Mack Wilson, LB, Alabama. Wilson hasn't yet officially declared, but his athleticism is off the charts, and that, matched with his poise, makes him one of the draft's best players. The Redskins signed Reuben Foster to much derision, and Mason Foster has struggled alongside Preston Brown. 17. Cleveland Browns. Kill Harry, WR, Arizona State. This offense is terrifying. And after 2 decades of pointing and gawking, we mean that in the best way possible. But Baker Mayfield could use another downfield weapon and Harry fits the profile. Harry had 73 receptions for 1,088 yards and 9 touchdowns this season, though he skipped the Sun Devils bowl game to prepare for draft season. 18. Philadelphia Eagles. Cody Ford, OT, Oklahoma. The Sooners' offensive line has had a great season and Ford, who is listed at 6'4", 340 pounds, has opened some eyes with his play. And after dominating for much of last season, the Eagles' offensive line could use an upgrade. The unit ranks 16th in run blocking and 23rd in pass protection. Jason Peters is 36 years old, and his contract is set to expire after the 2019 season. Point 19. Pittsburgh Steelers. Amani Oruwariye, CB, Penn State. The Steelers have to upgrade the secondary because after Joe Hayden there are a lot of questions. Oruwariye is a big, physical corner who has shown the ability to cover downfield, something Pittsburgh desperately needs. 20. Tennessee Titans. Brian Burns, edge, Florida State. The Titans took Harold Landry in the 2nd round last spring, and they add the arguably more explosive Burns this time around. The Florida State standout is a long, lean, explosive pass rusher. At 235-240 pounds, the concern is whether he's strong enough to play the position at the next level, but Burns isn't just a speed rusher. He's also strong and has the frame to get stronger. Point 21. Minnesota Vikings. Chris Lindstrom, G, Boston College. Same as last week. The biggest impediment between the Vikes and a playoff run is that the O-line can't protect the quarterback. Kirk Cousins took 2 more sacks on Sunday, and he has yet to make it through a game without getting sacked this season. Lindstrom, after a strong season at Boston College, may be the best guard in the draft. 22. Indianapolis Colts. DeAndre Baker, CB, Georgia. A technician who regularly shut down opposing wide receivers, Baker would make an already good Colts defense that much better. For an idea of just how good defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus has been this season, consider that Indy's defensive resurgence is happening with Pierre Desir and Quincy Wilson as the starting cornerbacks. 23. Seattle Seahawks. Clelin Ferrell, to Clemson. Frank Clark has bowled out this season, 12 sacks, but he's the only edge rushing threat. Ferrell had 10 sacks for Clemson while playing on the best defensive line in football. There may be questions about his flexibility, but he can answer them in the weeks and months to follow. 24. Baltimore Ravens. Devin Bush, LB, Michigan. CJ Mosley is in the final year of his deal, and if the Ravens decide to move on, Bush would be a sensible replacement. He's a middle-of-the-field thumper who has sideline-to-sideline speed. He looks like a Raven. 25. Oakland Raiders, via Dallas. Montez Sweat, to Mississippi State. Khalil Mack was traded before the season, Bruce Irvin was cut last month, and the Raiders are one of the NFL's worst pass rushing units. They have to address the position early, and possibly often in the 2019 draft. Point 26. Houston Texans. Dalton Risner, OT, Kansas Saints. Same as last week. The Texans' offensive line ranks 23rd blocking for runs. That's the good news. They're also 31st for pass protection, and when Deshaun Watson is your franchise quarterback, you have to protect him. Risner's versatility makes him attractive to Houston. He's a mauler who played right tackle this season, but could kick inside in the NFL if needed. 27. Oakland Raiders, via Chicago.Noah Fant, Iowa. Before you lose your mind, consider this: Jared Cook and Fant regularly running through unsuspecting defenses as Derek Carr returns to his MVP form of 2016. A deep threat would also make sense here, given that John Gruden shipped Amari Cooper out of town. But keep an eye on Fant, the draft's most athletic tight end, especially if the Raiders can't re-sign Cook, who is in the final year of his deal. 28. Los Angeles Chargers. Ration Gary, Edge, Michigan. Gary's athleticism is off the charts, but his production hasn't matched the expectations. Part of that was the way he was used in Ann Arbor, where he played interior defensive line as well as edge rusher. He's probably best inside, where he would have Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa as his defensive ends. 29. New England Patriots. Justin Herbert, QB, Oregon. Herbert has yet to declare, but we'd imagine the prospects of joining the Patriots might sway him to skip his final year at Oregon. Or maybe it won't, given that the Patriots clearly appear to be a team on decline. Tom Brady looks like a 41-year-old trying to play the toughest position in sports, and Rob Gronkowski somehow looks older. That said, the Pats are still one of the best teams in the AFC. And if Brady can play another season or two, Herbert could learn by watching before taking over when Brady finally retires. 30. Los Angeles Rams. David Edwards, OT, Wisconsin. An absolute mauler for the Badgers, Edwards could kick inside at the next level, where the Rams have struggled with consistency at times this season. 31. Kansas City Chiefs. Jaquan Johnson, S, Miami. What Johnson lacks in size he more than makes up for with tenacity. A short tackler who covers a lot of ground, Johnson has the athleticism to run with wide receivers and is also an adept blitzer off the edge. The Chiefs have to fix the secondary, and Johnson would be a good start. 32. Green Bay Packers, via New Orleans. Tyler Biadasz, Wisconsin. Biadasz is the second Wisconsin offensive lineman to go in the first round, and he may end up being one of the best linemen in this draft. Given the issues the Packers have had protecting Aaron Rodgers, addressing this need is an important one as Green Bay looks to get back on track in 2019.